Hello, Robyn Kesnow, RVT, and founder of Animal RN. Today I have for you ways to tell that your dog might be experiencing pain or discomfort. One of the things I hear very often is that my dog's stoic, he's not going to let me know he's in pain. Or my dog's not in pain because he's not vocalizing, he's not yelping. So there you have our first sign of pain. Vocalization of any kind. It could be yelps, grunts, barking, hissing, crazy noises. Some dogs talk, very much talk. Even howling that isn't tied to an activity or instigated could all be associated with pain. The catch is they may not be. The thing about all of these things I'm going to give you today is it doesn't necessarily mean pain. However, as part of a bigger picture, pain is something to be considered. And I don't know about you, but for me, to take great care of my pets, if I'm in doubt, I want to assume that they're uncomfortable. I treat my animals like my children. They may not eat at the dining room table, at least not when I'm looking, but I want to make sure they're comfortable. No pain, absolute comfort care is always the way to go. So vocalizing is one way to know that your animal is having some pain. A more subtle way to know that your animal is having pain, the second one I want to talk about today, kind of falls into two categories. We're going to talk about daily habits and activities and more of their behaviors on a daily basis. So a change in either one of these. So you could break these out to two separate. For me, I lump them together. So any change in their normal behavior is something that I'm going to consider as part of a bigger picture. For example, if I know that my dog has sometimes a little hitch in his giddy up after a long walk, I'm going to know that if he has excessive physical activity, I want to keep an eye on him and make sure that he's not uncomfortable. You know, sometimes you have a big day, you feel good that day, and the next morning, not so much. Sometimes as animals get older, we lay still for a while, and those first few steps warming up are a little rough. So you're going to have an idea whether or not you should be looking for pain or discomfort. So the changes in activity and daily habits can vary. So for example, daily habits. A dog that eats voraciously stops eating. That is feedback for me. That's something where I want to pay attention because it could be that they're not feeling well. Whether it's full-on discomfort and pain causing that decrease in appetite, or whether it's because there's some GI problem or something else going on. Either way, I'm going to be paying attention to the bigger picture, getting more information so I can see how to take care of them. So on a daily habit kind of level, it could be a change in them getting up and going out the doggy door to use the backyard to urinate or defecate. Perhaps they start to have accidents in the house. That would be a change in the daily habit. On the daily activity side, for me these are the same. Activity side, it could be a dog that always got up to greet you at the door, all of a sudden stops getting up to greet you at the door. They put their head up, they give you a little acknowledgement, but they're not coming to see you. On one hand, this could be a very normal, they finally figured out that you come home every day at the same time. But what is more likely, given a bigger picture and more information, is that perhaps they don't feel well, okay? So changes in your daily habit or your daily activity level. The other thing I think is important to say about activity level before I move on to the next one is that it could even be that there is a seemingly increase in activity level. Restlessness is a sign of pain in some cases. A chiropractor once told me that a still body is a sound body. That holds true for animals as well. Sometimes they don't lie down because it's uncomfortable to get down or get back up, or the pressure on the abdomen isn't right. So paying attention to those vocalizations and then changes in daily habits or activity level. Okay, our next one we're going to talk about, same thing, this could be broken up into two, but I put them together into one. Grooming and self-mutilation. I personally don't like the term self-mutilation because it implies that they're ripping themselves open. There are some things that happen with dogs that sometimes that can come up. What we're talking about more is obsessively licking to where they literally have no hair on their arm. Now, if you had a working breed dog, you might find that that's also a sign of boredom. So again, this has got to be part of a bigger picture. But when they sit and they're obsessing on their arm, sometimes it could be that they're trying to distract themselves. On a human level, I can tell you my grandmother, who I had the honor of taking care of in the last part of her life after her husband had passed, had dementia. And one of the things that we figured out was one of her pain coping mechanisms was to count. She would count backwards from 99 to 89 over and over again. I don't know why that's what she chose, but it's what she chose. So she would obsess on that process over and over and over. And we learned that that was her way of coping with pain. For your dog, it could be chewing on a certain part of his arm, on just one of his toenails, one of his claws. So those are things that we want to keep out for it. And that's what people mean when they say self-mutilation as a sign of pain. Grooming changes can also be in discomfort. So for example, if you have a dog that's been quite nimble most of their life, but they're starting to have some of those subtle changes where you're wondering if they're having discomfort. If all of a sudden they stop grooming the back half of their body, I'll use one of my favorite examples, the Australian Shepherd. The Australian Shepherd is a dog notorious to, pardon me for saying so, but needing to clean up the rear end after a little action back there. And if they cannot do that, they've been able to their whole life, and all of a sudden they can't do that, that's going to be significant for you and something that's information to see if they're in pain. So we have vocalizing in the various formats. We have changes in daily habits or activities. Now we have grooming, mutilation type stuff. The next thing that I want to talk about is more around changes in their body posture and their facial expressions. So body posture is an easy one for us to consider. If you get kicked in the side, you might catch yourself leaning in and bringing in that side that hurts, and you're protecting it with your hip and your shoulder by shifting your posture. For a dog, a lot of times, for example, when we have some sort of abdominal pain for various reasons, we'll find that they have a hunched up back. They'll all of a sudden have an arc in their back. So if you see a change in posture, this could be an indication that they're protecting parts of their body. It could also mean changes, for example, when knees and hips and spinal joints have issues, you might find that they're lying down differently in different ways they've never laid down before, things like that. And the facial side. Now, this I want to address because this, to me, can be considered very common body language, but it's worth addressing around pain because not everybody knows about this stuff. What I'm thinking of is, think of the traditional the facial expression when you're concentrating on something. Sometimes when a dog is in pain, they get a facial expression that is not their normal expression. So this is something that if you see it, to not ignore it and take a look at the whole environment, the whole dog, the whole situation, and see what might be going on. A great example of this is ears on a German Shepherd. Ears on any dog, but I'll use a German Shepherd because they have pricked ears, so they're very clear to see. If a German Shepherd is lying those ears down or back, there could be different behavioral indicators for you, things for you to know about how they're feeling. And one of those things could be pain. So there's a little more digging into there. So if you see some shifts in your dog's facial expression or their posture, how they have their tail tucked, things like that, we want to take a further look and make sure that they're not in pain. And that kind of ties in real nicely with the last one here. This last one is aggression. A change in behavior for your animal. So say you have a golden retriever that's been an angel with the kids, with the other dogs, with the neighbors, just like the social being. It's the neighborhood dog. She's the mascot of the neighborhood. And all of a sudden she starts snapping at somebody here or there, and it starts as one or two incidences, and it happens a couple of times. For me, I'm going to take that change in behavior and I'm going to immediately assume that something is not right. Of course, it could be a behavioral thing, it could be a training thing, although I say if they've been that good for that long and they have that solid of a reputation, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and have a look and make sure they're not uncomfortable in some reason or otherwise feeling vulnerable. If an animal is hurt, they have no choice but to protect themselves, and they don't always communicate clearly, or sometimes we're missing the signs. I'm Robyn Kesnow, the RVT with TLC, and those are your signs that your dog could be in pain. If you'd like more information, you can always find that at our blog, and of course, you can contact me directly.